Get ready, Friar Faithful. This is the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Jackson swings, hits it in the air, deep to right field. He has done it again. Unbelievable.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt.
Ultimately, what we're here to do is win.
From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today, the Padres take on the Colorado Rockies in the second game of a three-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today on the mound for the Rockies, right-hander Bradley Blaylock, and for the Padres, right-hander Stephen Kolek. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up in Denver, Colorado at 5:10 p.m. on what is a gorgeous Saturday here in America's finest city. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We check in with Gwynn Jr. in just a little bit, our keys to the game, full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, and much, much more. But first, it's time to set the table. Brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres come in 24-13. They entered today sitting in second place in the National League West, just one game behind the LA Dodgers. Padres are 5-2 on a current 9-game road trip. Meanwhile, the Rockies are 6-32. Colorado has lost 7 games in a row. They are on pace for 136 losses, which would absolutely crush last year's record set by the White Sox. They lost 121 last season. The Rockies' 6-32 start is tied for the worst 38-game start in the majors since 1900. Padres and Rockies have played 4 times so far this season. The Padres have won all 4. Padres began this 3-game set in Denver last night. Let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
The Padres got off to a very quick start in the top of the first inning. 2 on base for Manny Machado.
As Manny laces one into center field, that's a base hit. Fernando rounding third on his way. Doyle's throw will go to short. RBI single, Manny Machado. Padres take a 1-0 lead and 3 straight hits against Senzatella to begin the night.
We go to the top of the third. Padres had runners on first and second for Jackson Merrill.
1-0 pitch. And Merrill swings, hits it in the air to left field deep. Beck is back. He will turn around and watch, and it bangs off the top of the wall. Fernando rounding third, he'll stay. Arai going to be held at third. Merrill into second with an RBI double, and the Padre lead is 2-0.
An absolute BB off the bat of Jackson Merrill.
Later in the inning, the bases were loaded for Gavin Sheets.
Here's the 2-1 pitch. In the air up the left field line. Beck, long run towards the line. Not going to get there. Bounces down a fair ball. He kind of knocks it into the corner. All 3 runs will come in and score. Gavin Sheets empties the bases, and the Padres lead it 5-0 here in the third.
So it does indeed come back to haunt the Rockies.
Padres led 6-1 in the 5th inning. That's when Sheets struck again.
3-2 to Sheets. Cronenworth runs, and that is ripped in the air down the right field line. A fair ball. Going to bounce and roll all the way to the base of the wall. Cronenworth scores easily. Sheets into second with his second double of the night. And the Padre lead here in the 5th inning is 7-1.
Second double of the night. 4th RBI of the night.
Padres were far from done. Next up was Jason Hayward.
0-1. Herget, look back at Sheets, now the pitch. And Hayward on a line into right field. That's a base hit. Sheets is on his way home. The throw from Moniak will be cut at first base. RBI single Jason Hayward. And now 8-1 San Diego.
Everybody eats on a day like this.
Padres weren't done. Martin Maldonado dug in.
Hayward at first, 2 down. First pitch, righty to righty, swung on, hit in the air, deep to left field. Beck is back to watch. This one, gonna go! Martin Maldonado with his second home run against Herget, his second of the year. A 2-run shot here in the 5th inning, and it is 10-1.
Like I said, everyone eats on a night like tonight.
Padres reading a 5-run fifth inning. Padres led 10-1 through 5. Randy Vasquez went 6 innings, gave up just a couple of solo home runs. Padres built a 13-2 lead. As we went bottom 8, the Rockies made it quite scary. They scored 5 runs against Sean Reynolds and Wandy Peralta. In the bottom of the 8th inning, they scored 2 more against Peralta and Alec Jacob in the bottom of the 9th inning to make it 13-9. So all of a sudden, the tying run was on deck with just 1 out in the 9th. It became a save situation, so the Padres went to Robert Suarez.
0-2. And a pitch to Bouchard, hit on the ground to the left side. Iglesias at short has it, goes to second one. Cronenworth to first is in time, and a double play to end the game. Robert Suarez comes on and cleans it up as the Padres take game 1 here at Coors, 13-9.
Padres hang on. They improved to 5-2 on this 9-game road trip, and now the Padres trying to make it 2 straight wins in the middle game of this 3-game series here today. Let's go out to Coors Field in Colorado.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Tony Gwynn Jr. in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Tony, let's start with a look at today's starting pitching matchup. Bradley Blaylock on the mound for Colorado. Stephen Kolek will make his second major league start for the Padres. Tony, Kolek very good in that first outing of 2025. What did you like about what Kolek did his first time out in Pittsburgh?
I thought he used his sinker to his advantage. He kept the ball down for the most part, got a lot of weak contact, a lot of ground balls. And I just thought he used his stuff the way you would expect a sinker baller to. When I watch a sinker baller, I cut that rectangle box in half, and I just try to pay attention to how many balls he throws on the bottom half of that rectangle, and he pretty much was there all game.
Tony, considering Kolek was so reliant on that sinker in that first start, considering the environment, hitters park at the elevation, is that something that could possibly play into Kolek's favor here today?
I mean, I think execution of pitches always plays a favor, no matter who you are and what the stuff that you possess. It boils down to really executing your pitches, and I don't think he'll go away from his game plan. I mean, at that point, he's not a guy who throws a four-seam fastball all that much. He uses a sweeper and a slider. Both are, susceptible apparently to the elevation. So I don't think that really matters. I think he's going to try to, maybe just kind of one up what he did in his last start, be a little bit better in terms of keeping it at the bottom portion of that zone. If he does that, he's going to have success.
Tony, let's talk about a couple of guys in this Padres lineup. Padres offense did a really good job yesterday, 13 runs on 16 hits. Fernando Tatis Jr., his OPS, you look at the last few weeks, it's down quite a bit. Obviously, he got hit in the left forearm. You kind of wonder what kind of impact that's had on him in the last week or so. It's interesting. You watch Fernando. He's clearly tinkering, Tony. Sometimes he's got the leg kick. Sometimes he doesn't have the leg kick. I've heard before from many people that many of the great hitters tinker throughout a season, throughout a career. What's your take on what Fernando is doing right now? What he seems to be sort of searching for?
I think he's searching.
Yeah.
Last night he was pretty consistent. I didn't see him go to the leg kick. I thought I saw all of his at-bats. Was kind of getting down earlier. And, I think that worked for him. I think he hit the ball well, ended up only with the one hit, but he lined out to center. I just think, at different times of the year, all players will not feel like themselves. And, it's really a matter of sticking with it and trying to just kind of work through it. And I think from a timing standpoint, and it's not to say that he feels bad swinging the bat. You can just tell that the timing element for him is a little bit off. And I think he spent some games trying to kind of find it. And I think it's come and gone. And I think that's kind of part of the season. Those things kind of happen.
And traditionally, Coors Field has been a place where Fernando has always slugged. So we'll see if he can get that going here today. Let's talk a little bit about Jackson Merrill. You and Jesse had a great conversation yesterday on the broadcast about Merrill really never going through a prolonged slump during that rookie season. And to me, it's one of the more impressive aspects of last season and continues to be one of the more impressive aspects of Merrill's time in the major leagues. And I think right now, Tony's another example where he misses a month. He's a young player. He comes back, the 3 games off the IL. He's just been terrific. He doesn't miss a beat. Your take on what Jackson continues to do, and more specifically, what he's done since he's come off the IL?
I think he's uber talented.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what he's shown since day one of being on this big league roster. But in terms of the offense, I think there is a simplicity about his setup, his swing, his approach that really doesn't matter in terms of how much time he's been off. And I think that's also why we haven't really seen a prolonged slump from him. His mechanics, everything about his swing is pretty simple. It'd be an ideal kind of stance, setup, approach to teach any young hitter at the plate. And so I think, his talent is the reason why he's able to do it, but I think he helps himself by having such a simplified approach at the plate.
Tony, before I let you go, one more question on Jackson Merrill. I saw earlier this week, and I've seen this comparison before, and let's forget for a second that the guy is in Dodger blue, but I've seen the comparison to Freddie Freeman offensively, the swing, sort of the approach, the ability to hit line drives to left center. Do you see that with Jackson, that Freddie Freeman comparison? It's something I've heard now quite a bit.
I've seen a similarity in stance.
Yeah.
But I don't think that – I think Freddie is a purposeful, trying to stay inside the baseball type of swing. And he's been like that from the moment that he came up. I think Jackson, I don't know that he's necessarily looking to do that at the plate. So I don't know that their approaches are the same. Their stances are pretty similar, though, and I can see why the comparisons are there, but I don't know that they are approaching it the same way in terms of what they're trying to do at the plate. Tony,
good insight as always. We'll talk to you and Jesse coming up at the top of the hour as the Padres go for a win in Denver. Thanks so much.
No problem, Zach.
All right, Tony Gwynn Jr. joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for first pitch. Coming up at 5:10, Game 2 of this 3-game series in Denver, Colorado at Coors Field. As always, we invite you to get involved on our pregame coverage. You can do that in a number of different ways. You can find me on X at Sammy Lev, SammyLev. Instagram DMs open as well. Sammy Lev there too. You can also comment on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube stream. We got a YouTube comment here from Chris. Chris saying, "What's up, Sammy? Got the Bluetooth hooked up to our golf cart right now and listening from Encinitas Golf Ranch." Well, Chris, thank you for listening. Thank you to both you and all your golf friends for tuning in from Encinitas. And that's what I want to know today. I know we do this a lot of times during Padres and Pancakes in the morning, but I got to tell you, what a gorgeous Saturday here in San Diego. And I know we get a lot of great weather in San Diego, but there was something about this morning. I was walking around Ocean Beach. I mean, it was buzzing. People by the beach, people laying out on the sand. I mean, what a vibe, what a mood today around San Diego. So what I want to know, how are you enjoying Padres baseball on this beautiful Saturday? How are you tuned in? Maybe you're playing golf. Like our friend Chris, maybe you're at the beach, maybe you're at lunch, whatever it might be. Late lunch it would be right now, early dinner maybe. Let me know how you're tuned in. Find me on social media, on X, Instagram, or on YouTube, and I may just give you a shout out on the air. And as always, feel free to send photos with the setup. Maybe you're grilling some burgers tuned in to our pregame coverage. When we come back, we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, plus much, much more to do as we get ready for Game 2 of this 3-game series in Denver right here on the Padres Radio Network.
Stay tuned to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, celebrating their centennial.
EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for today's game. First pitch coming up at 5:10 in Denver, Colorado. Starting pitching matchup today, it'll be right-hander Stephen Kolek on the mound for the Padres, making his second major league start, his second appearance here in 2025 for San Diego. Young right-hander Bradley Blaylock on the mound for Colorado. Padres winning last night 13-9. Padres come in 24-13, and the Rockies at 6-32. With all that in mind, let's go back to Denver and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, served up by Sin Lee Food, where fresh meets flavor. Find farm fresh produce, bold Asian spices, and gourmet ingredients at 4665 El Cajon Boulevard. Sin Lee Food, the cook's Asian resource.
Mike, you mentioned in the postgame last night a little bit just about the approach that you guys had yesterday. A lot of opposite field hits. You guys have the second most opposite field hits in Major League Baseball right now. How cool is it to see that come to fruition, and how important is that to maintain through the course of the season?
It's very important. I mean, just look at it from a very common sense standpoint. You got a whole big field out there. You might as well use it all. Clearly the game has changed back to where you can't in the infield overcorrect and shift. But that existed for a reason, because for whatever reason people, and I look, it's way easier said than done, but it is an approach and identity that we have to our Petco Park hitting that, and Arise is a poster boy from the Tony Gwynn era that says, look at all this big field out there, and if we can hit it anywhere, they can only have to defend. They have to defend it all. And so, that was on display last night, and it'll look to continue to be that way.
Another thing that was on display was the defense. Some really nice plays all over the field for you guys. Obviously, that's important everywhere. Sometimes underappreciated. You guys only have 800 runs allowed. That's the second fewest in all Major League Baseball. Some of that has to do with the good defense. Some of the pitching, working together. How important, how powerful is that?
I mean, championships are won on pitching and defense. It's just the way it is. And so pitch has been good. Your pitching can only be as good as your defense behind it. We play good defense. There's always room for improvement. We talk about a lot of team defensive things, positioning, communication, pre-pitch, being on time for almost every time. But, Jason Hayward made 2, plus plays yesterday. Manny comes in, he spoils us with the slow roller in the third. Maldy pounced out there to end the inning in the 8th to stop the momentum there. Lockridge comes in the game, makes a big play down the line. Subtle thing when you were there to back up, on the throw to second base with Vasquez and Jay Hay. It's a big part of, it's kind of like sometimes the bullpen, they do their job and it gets taken for granted. We play our defense, it gets taken for granted, but it does need to be appreciated, and it's why we win.
Stephen Kolek going today and talking to him about pitching here. He has a little bit of experience on the bullpen in this ballpark last year, but you mentioned also it helps that he's pitching the PCL. There's a lot of high elevation leagues or teams in that league. How valuable might that be just to pitchers that are coming up that they've had some previous experience, considering you guys play a lot of games here and in Arizona? I
think the experience is important. I think the mindset is more important. Listen, we know we're in an environment that can be more of a challenge to pitch, but I've seen 2-1 ball games here. I saw a guy, Randy Vasquez, throw 6 innings and, a couple balls that got out of the ballpark, but gave up 2 runs in 6 innings and a lot of softer contact. So at least from my mindset, from a pitching standpoint, if the game will not always reward you, but if you go execute your pitches, you control counts like Randy did last night, and not make something bigger than it is, and you just go perform relative to what you can control, you give yourself your best shot.
I'm not sure how deep the discussions go when you guys talk about Rule 5 stuff when Stephen was picked, but what do you think it was that this team saw in Stephen to pick him out in the Rule 5 draft and then trust him to eventually become starter?
Couple things. One, I had the privilege of the winter meetings of 23 going into 24 of sitting in the room. The winter meetings are, I've got some responsibilities to you, the media, but I don't have a ton of heavy lifting in the winter meetings, but I do get the privilege of being in our room where our professional scouts with AJ and his leadership team or, man, it's an impressive room to be in. There's hardly any sleep, and they're leaving no stone unturned. And I was there for a long time with being able to listen to and watch and hear them talk about Stephen Coley. And there was a lot of opinions. A lot of people had seen him. A lot of people weighed in on him. And so it was a very well done, as most of everything we do from a scouting perspective, whether it's amateur, internationally, professional scouting, it's very, very well done in this organization. I feel like it's an elite and an industry separator for us. And they did a nice job with Steve. As far as the decision of making a starter, we feel like it was a little bit out of depth from the bullpen piece that we have in the organization, a little out of necessity for the starting role, but also most importantly, the ability to have the pitches to be able to start. And it starts with that. He's got multiple pitches. He's got a power sinker that can get him through and out of innings if he needs to, and he's got multiple pitches beyond that can complement his arsenal.
You can tell me if you think this is a stupid question. I'm totally fine with that.
No.
Is there any added pressure when you play a team struggling to this level to come in here and make sure you win all three at all?
I don't know if it's a stupid question. I think I'm not a big, win all three. I'm more of a take care of business today. This is the Major League Baseball. And so, listen, coming in and winning a Major League game is what we strive and prepare and compete to do every night and look to shake hands. I don't know what takes place outside of these walls, outside of these stadiums that we compete in. But, I do know that we're looking to show up every day to compete and win a game, to come in and have some kind of birthright or expectation to win all three in a Major League environment is something for other people to talk about.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt earlier today in Denver. We'll hear more from Mike on our post-game coverage coming up later on this evening. Sam Levitt back with you inside our San Diego studios. Well, reality is the Rockies do come in a record of 6-32, by far and away the worst record in Major League Baseball. The seller of the NL West, the Rockies are in right now. Padres have won all 6 meetings so far this season against National League West opponents. They swept that 2-game series from the Giants. They also swept a 3-game series at home from the Rockies, and then yesterday's win to open up this 3-game series in Denver. First pitch coming up at 5:10 in Colorado. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
We begin with a look at the hot category. Jackson Merrill, fresh off the IL, 3 games in, and he has been terrific. 7 for 13 in his 3 games since coming off the IL. A home run, 2 doubles, and 4 RBIs in that span. How about this? Merrill is now hitting .420 with a .740 slugging percentage in 50 at-bats. Only Aaron Judge has a higher slugging percentage among players with at least 50 plate appearances this season. So Jackson, when he's been healthy, he has been awesome. He's been great so far since coming off the IL following the hamstring injury. Manny Machado in the midst of a 9-game hitting streak. He's hitting 457 in that span with 4 extra base hits, 6 RBIs, and 9 runs scored. Manny had a very nice game in yesterday's win. In the not category, a guy on the bench today for the Padres, Jose Iglesias, who was 0 for his last 19, does not yet have a hit in the month of May. So we'll see if Iglesias comes off the bench at all today, but he is again 0 for his last 19. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not as we get ready for game 2 of this 3-game set. Let's take you around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
Couple of pieces of injury news. The Reds placing outfielder Jake Fraley on the IL with left calf tenderness, and they activated newly acquired outfielder and first baseman Connor Joe, who they traded for from the Padres last night. If you missed it, we didn't focus on it a ton beyond a mention yesterday on the postgame, but the Padres traded Joe during the middle of last night's game. They got minor league reliever Andrew Moore and cash considerations back in return from the Reds. So the Reds pretty much immediately activating Connor Joe. So certainly wish Connor the best. The Poway kid, Connor Joe, we wish him the best as he takes his career to the Cincinnati Reds. The resurgent season of Casey Mize has been put on pause for now. The Tigers placing their right-handed starter on the 15-day IL with a mild left hamstring strain. Mize suffered the injury in his last start on Thursday in Colorado when he tossed 6 innings of 1-run, 3-hit ball. He had a 2.53 ERA on the season, so that's a big loss for a team that's playing well in the Tigers right now. Jason Dominguez hit 3 home runs in the Yankees' 10-2 win against the A's in Sacramento last night, becoming the youngest player in franchise history and the Yankees' long history to hit 3 home runs in a single game. Dominguez did it at 22 years old and 91 days old. That was even younger than when Joe DiMaggio hit 3 home runs in a game back in 1937. Dominguez did it at 109 days younger. So Dominguez creating a little history for the Yankees yesterday. Yankees and the A's already did play earlier today. A's won that game 11-7, despite Aaron Judge hitting a couple of home runs in that one for the Yankees. Home runs number 13 and 14 for Judge. But again, that final score, A's 11, Yankees 7. And speaking of scores, we'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard when we return. As always, we invite you to get involved on social media. You can do that in a number of different ways. You can find me on X at Sammy Lev, SammyLev. Same handle on Instagram. The DMs are open, or you can comment on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube stream. A shout out to Kyle, who says that he and his son Beckett are tuning in via the app on the TV from Yuma, Arizona, roasting a turkey for dinner. Well, Kyle and Beckett, we appreciate you tuning in. Hope the turkey is very yummy for dinner, and thank you for tuning in from Yuma, Arizona. Love my stops in Yuma, typically on my way out to spring training in Peoria. So Kyle, Beckett, we appreciate you tuning in. When we come back, we give you our keys to the game. We also have the latest on Yu Darvish and much, much more to come. First pitch at 5:10 in Denver on the Padres Radio Network.
Hello, my friends. It's Woodsy. Did you know your water quality affects
Welcome back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water, should it be perfect. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for today's game. Coming up at 5:10, right here on the Padres Radio Network, we go out to Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. in just about 18 minutes. So they'll have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and then all the play-by-play as the Padres go for another win against the Colorado Rockies. Let's get to some shout outs here. Plenty of people tuning in. We have John chiming in on X. John listening via the Odyssey app from Fort Worth, Texas. John says, a lifelong Padres fan. I never miss a game or your pre and post game show. John, we appreciate you tuning in. Katie chiming in on Instagram. Katie saying Padres and Pinot tonight. So a little wine in the equation for Katie. Katie, hope you enjoy the game and the Pinot with the ball game here tonight. We've got VK on Instagram chiming in. VK saying currently listening while trying to dye my hair at home. Thanks for the entertainment while doing this. Well, VK, hope the hair dyeing goes well. Maybe I should dye my hair, maybe go blonde or red or purple, or I could go gold, right? Padres, gold. Anyway, let me know, what color should I dye my hair? Maybe that'll be my my summer activity, change things up for summertime here in San Diego. Let's give you the latest on Yu Darvish with our injury report.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Couple of notes before we update you on Yu Darvish. Jake Cronenworth, of course, returned to the lineup yesterday after dealing with a non-displaced rib fracture for over a month. He returned last night, had a base hit and an RBI. Jake back in the lineup for the Padres today, once again playing second base. Rockies are missing a lot of key guys right now. Chris Bryant underwent successful ablation surgery on his back this week. He continues to be out. Ezekiel Tovar, really good player for the Rockies, their shortstop, he's out with a hip injury right now. Tyro Estrada out with a wrist injury. So the Rockies, we know things are not going well. They're 6-32, but injuries have played a part in this really, really rough start. As far as Yu Darvish, yesterday he was scheduled to throw to hitters in Arizona at the Padres complex, do 3 up and downs, basically a simulated game in Arizona. Here was Mike Shildt with the latest on Yu Darvish after he threw yesterday in Arizona.
He came out of yesterday feeling good. Texted with him. We, along with Darvish, with you, are putting together his thoughts for his next side and then what's next for him. So we'll come up with something final here soon. But he felt good today. It was good.
And when the next side would be?
That's still in debate, whether it's tomorrow or Monday. But he feels good.
So again, the good news is that Yu Darvish feels good after throwing that simulated game yesterday. Now the question really becomes, what is the next step? Could that be a more formal rehab start at an affiliate for Yu Darvish? You would imagine that could be the case, and I'm sure at some point in this coming week we'll have more information on what the next step is for Yu Darvish. But the good news above anything is that he continues seemingly to get closer and closer to returning, and that certainly would be a very big deal for the Padres rotation. First pitch coming up at 5:10 in Denver. Let's give you our keys to today's game.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by El Centro Motors Ford. Meet your new Ford General Manager, Greg Ryan, now at El Centro Motors Ford, your new Ford truck, Bronco, and SUV HQ. Call Greg directly at 619-944-0774.
Key number one, don't let the Rockies offense heat up. The Rockies ended up matching the Padres in hits last night, 16 of them, 9 runs total, 7 of them in the final 2 innings. Even with that, the Rockies have averaged just 3.3 runs per game this season. That is the 3rd worst average in the major league. So very simple key number one. Don't let this Rockies offense start to get it going all of a sudden when they have not hit it all this season. no momentum from those final couple of innings last night. That's key number one. Key number two, an amazing Arise. Luis Arise was 3 for 6 with a couple of runs scored last night. That's after he went just a combined 2 for 19 in his previous 5 games. Need more of that Luis at the top of the lineup here today. Key number three, a better bullpen. Padres bullpen, after being so good for so long, well, they've given up 20 runs in the past 3 games combined. Padres bullpen made it far more interesting than what it needed to be yesterday. And really, aside from Jason Adam, no quote-unquote high leverage guy has really struggled. Adam gave up the 2-run home run to Grisham on Wednesday to tie the game in New York. So it's really been, not the high leverage guys that have struggled, but still, you're a bullpen as a unit, 20 runs in 3 games, that's a lot. So a better bullpen, that's key number 3. Key number 4, Gavin Sheets against righties. Gavin Sheets had 2 hits and 4 RBIs last night, all against right-handed pitching. Sheets back in the lineup playing first base today, batting 7th for the Padres against Rockies right-hander Bradley Blaylock on the mound. Sheets is batting .299 with 5 doubles, 4 home runs, 8 walks against right-handed pitching this season. He's batting just .200 against lefties. So a key today, Gavin Sheets continuing to keep up the pace against right-handed pitching. Has been very, very good against righties so far this year. And that's a look at our keys to today's game. And in our next segment, we'll focus on one Padre that you would like to see get going a little bit more. We'll also talk about the core 6 as well, now that the quote-unquote core 6 are all back in the lineup for the Padres. But before we go back to break, let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We have a few finals already today. Rays beat the Brewers 3-2 in Tampa Bay. We told you about the A's beating the Yankees 11-7 in Sacramento. Aaron Judge had 2 home runs in that game, but the A's win it 11-7. Cardinals beat the Nationals in D.C. 4-2. Braves beat the Pirates in 11. 3-2. Games going on right now. Phillies ahead of the Guardians 1-0 in the 7th inning in Cleveland. Rangers 7, Tigers 2 in the 6th inning in Detroit. Red Sox 1, Royals 0 in Kansas City in the 3rd. Reds 10, Astros 1 in the 2nd in Houston. White Sox 1 and the Marlins 0 in the 3rd in Chicago. Cubs scored 2 runs in the 1st inning against the Mets in New York. Cubs lead it 2-0 in the 2nd. Giants beating the Twins 1-0 in Minnesota in the 3rd. Elliot Ramos home run in that game for San Francisco. Few other games yet to begin aside from this one. Dodgers in Arizona against the Diamondbacks at 5:10. Corbin Burns on the mound for Arizona. Dustin May on the mound for LA. Orioles against the Angels in Anaheim at 6:38. Blue Jays and the Mariners in Seattle at 6:40. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Saturday. When we come back, we focus on a couple of Padres players in the lineup today. We also have a much deeper breakdown into today's starting pitching matchup, including right-hander Stephen Kolek on the mound for San Diego. First pitch coming up at 5:10 at Coors Field in Denver, right here on the Padres Radio Network.
You're listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal.
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 5:10 in Denver. We go out to Jesse and Tony in under 7 minutes. They'll have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play for Game 2 of this 3-game series. Well, the core six, the 6 guys we consider the core 6, if you will: Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, Luis Arraez, Jackson Merrill, Xander Bogaerts, Jake Cronenworth. They were finally all back in the lineup together for the first time in more than a month last night. How about these numbers today? With the full quote-unquote core 6 in the lineup, Padres are 9-2, hitting .294 as a team, .789 OPS. They're 15-11 when missing at least one member of that quote-unquote core 6. They're 15-11 still in 26 games, so they've played well. But the offensive numbers do come down a lot, hitting just .245 as a team, .684 OPS. So both those numbers come down quite a bit. So very good to have all those guys back in the lineup once again here today. Padres finally whole offensively in this series in Colorado. Let's talk about one of those core 6 members as we tell you what to watch for.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For, presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
And I should say that core 6 term, took it from Kevin Acee in the San Diego Union Tribune, but it's a good point offensively, those 6 main guys in the lineup. All right, let's take a look at Fernando Tatis Jr., who is homerless in his last 15 games. He's only posted an OPS of .634 in that span. Fernando had 8 home runs and 1128 OPS through his first 21 games of the season, had a single and a couple of runs scored last night. And again, 1128 OPS in his first 21 games of the season. But his last 15 games, that number dropping all the way down to .634. So what am I watching for today and tomorrow in this series? Can Fernando get the slug going again? Coors Field is a place where he typically has big numbers, a .1047 OPS in 28 games at Coors Field in Denver. Can Fernando, out of that leadoff spot, get it going again? And you do wonder, after he got hit in the left forearm and then he was right back in the lineup the next day in Pittsburgh, you wonder if that's affecting him at all. I don't know if it is or it isn't, but getting Fernando going from a slug perspective, that would be nice to see both tonight and throughout the rest of this series. Let's take a look at our starting pitching matchup between Stephen Kolek and Bradley Blaylock.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Right-hander Stephen Kolek on the mound for the Padres makes his second start after being recalled from AAA last weekend. He pitched 5 1/3 shutout innings in a 4-0 win in Pittsburgh on Sunday. He faced the Rockies a few times out of the bullpen last season, twice in Colorado, 4 earned runs allowed in 2 2/3 innings. The pitch mix in his first major league start: sinker at 38%, slider at 20%, four-seamer at 17%, also mixed in the changeup, the cutter, and the sweeper. So Stephen has a very wide arsenal of pitches. Right-hander Bradley Blaylock on the mound for Colorado, 4 outings on the year, 2 starts, 12 innings and a third, 14 hits allowed. He struck out 7, walked 4. Started the year in the bullpen, now in the Rockies rotation. His last start against the Giants, pretty good. 5 innings and a third, 3 earned runs given up on 2 hits. He faced the Padres last season in Denver through 5 2/3 innings, gave up just 1 run, so he was good that day. And the pitch mix for Blaylock: a 4-seam fastball, splitter, cutter, curveball, and a slider. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup. A couple of young right-handers going at it. Stephen Kolek against Bradley Blaylock. As always, thank you for listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should be perfect. Well, the Padres won a wacky and wild one yesterday in Denver. What's in store at Coors Field on this Saturday? Well, we're going to find out when we come back. Jesse Ackler, Tony Gwynn Jr. have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network.
Tony Gwynn Jr. here. Upgrade your outdoor living space with TimberTech, the #1 premium composite decking brand.